While doing a task for the second in command of the gang, I sneaked into the villa privately owned by the big shot. Of course, I don't have a masochistic tendency. I'm not here to see the legendary fierce underworld big shot who can take down 5 strong men single-handedly and is said to be as stocky as a bear. Instead, my poor wife has been confined in the villa because she refused to submit to the big shot. The villa door opened immediately, and the lazy beauty on the sofa turned over and looked at me. "Daniel, you're finally here," with a playful note of joy in his voice. Leo ran barefoot towards me. I put my arm around Leo. "Hey, you're not wearing shoes." Leo still threw himself into my arms regardless. I placed the gift I brought on the table, picked Leo up and weighed him in my arms. "Have you not been eating properly?" Leo's hand restlessly landed on my chest. "I don't want to eat anything when Daniel isn't around." I let out a stifled groan of pain. The wound on my shoulder that had just been bandaged was on the verge of splitting open, staining the bandage on my back red. I quietly pulled my clothes together. Even such a subtle movement was noticed by Leo. He pulled at my clothes and his tone suddenly turned cold. "Who did this?" I gently coaxed the angry Leo in my arms. "In our line of work, it's inevitable to get injured." As I spoke, I clumsily changed the subject. "Did the boss make things difficult for you? He doesn't seem like a good person at first glance. Did he force you?" Leo's face froze for a moment, looking strange, and then relaxed, allowing me to check him. Looking into Leo's clear and bright eyes, I just noticed that he was wearing a dark red nightgown today, and the skirt fluttered as he moved. When the affection was at its peak, suddenly, rows of bullet comments flashed before Su Juya's eyes. "You're amazing. You're keeping a mafia boss as a canary. Who would have thought that the decisive and ruthless boss is actually a sweet and soft little cake in private?" I froze in an instant and didn't know where to put my hands. What on earth are these things flashing before my eyes? I fell into deep doubt, and Leo's sweet call woke me up. My head must have been hit by the enemy, and I'm having hallucinations. Suddenly, the bullet comments flashed by again. The big shot is going to avenge his own boyfriend. I didn't take those bullet comments seriously at all. The next day, in a sleepy moment, I received a call from the second in command, who said that the rival who had injured me last night was brutally retaliated against today, with a tragic end. However, it wasn't clear whose doing it was. Suddenly, the words from the barrage yesterday popped up in my mind, and a thin layer of cold sweat broke out on my back. If what they said was true, the person sleeping soundly on my arm was not a kept beauty at all, but the real boss of the underworld. I gasped. My mind was in a mess and I hadn't come up with a countermeasure yet, so I could only play it by ear. I deliberately avoided Leo for a few days, wanting to test the authenticity of the messages. Wait and see. The boss will definitely act weak and call him over. I suddenly received a call from Leo. His voice was weak and feeble, barely able to speak, asking me to come and keep him company. His appearance made me both heartache and angry. How could he harm his own body? I submitted a leave report to the second in command. The always stingy him actually generously granted me a 1-week leave and even declared that I should take good care of the other person. I looked at my leave form in confusion. It said it was a sick leave, but the patient should be me. When did I ever tell him that I had a partner? The second in command really can't even act. At this moment, I was absolutely certain that what the barrage said was true. I went back to the villa again, made a bowl of Leo's favorite fish fillet soup. He was huddled under the quilt, his voice muffled. He didn't look as seriously ill as he sounded on the phone. The boss of the underworld? It seems he's not good at pretending to be sick either. "Daniel, I miss you so much. Please don't ignore me." He spoke with a pitiful expression, and I felt my heart trembling with sympathy. Regardless of who he is, just love him. In an instant, I smelled a sweet lemon fragrance. The scent grew stronger, seeming to emanate from Leo's neck. Is he actually an Omega? Then what does the AA romance I've been mentally preparing for so long count for? "Daniel, my time has come. I command you to mark me." Leo's eyes, glistening with moisture, looked at me, making it hard for me to resist my feelings. "As for the cannon fodder alpha? Others want to get close? Sorry, I'll eliminate anyone who comes." Having a mafia boss as a wife is really a happy yet troublesome thing. Firstly, I don't have to work hard and risk my life every day. Secondly, my wife loves to act coquettishly. He can handle me easily, but when it comes to handling my wife, my position was transferred to be beside the boss. When I first saw that Leo was the boss, I still pretended to be surprised. Leo lowered his eyes and acted coquettishly towards me, saying that he didn't mean to deceive me. He also didn't want to inherit this lousy position. It was all forced by his family. Once he finds a chance to kill that old man, he'll elope with me to the ends of the earth. I covered his mouth and said, Don't do things like killing and arson. Leo gave me a coquettish glance, snorted, and casually put his feet on my legs. It seemed that he didn't take my words to heart. I suppressed the bitterness at the corner of my mouth and recalled the organization's mission I received yesterday. As a qualified undercover agent, it is our mission to combat black, evil forces and punish the wicked and promote the good. Now the most important task is to disrupt the latest trading mission. I'll take charge of the goods at the port. Leo casually agreed. The port cargo transaction is scheduled to take place in the cruise ship's banquet hall. The livelier it is, the more dangerous it becomes. We're going to do business with that crazy guy from the Chun family. If the deal fails, that guy might smash the cruise ship's steering wheel on the spot and throw people overboard to feed the sharks. I originally wanted to keep Leo in a safe place and never intended to let him go with me. At that time, Leo was sleeping beside me, coquettishly acting cute, his shrewd pupils blinking, saying, "I want to accompany you. I can't bear to part with you." Couldn't help laughing, helped him sit up, and said, "Leo is so busy with a lot of affairs every day. If you don't work hard, how can you support a kept boy like me?" Leo turned over, looking extremely sad as if he was about to break down. The once unrestrained and flamboyant Leo is now so vulnerable that he could break at a touch. Of course, I know he's just pretending. Even heroes have a weakness for beautiful women. I'm no exception. When Leo's soft cheek leaned towards me again, my mind went blank and I agreed to him. "I'll take you there, but in exchange, you have to follow my instructions." Begging for help? There must always be some price to pay. The day before we set off for the cruise ship, I brought 3 newly launched high-end winter dresses. The 3 long dresses are in the same style. Looking at Leo's face blushing with shame, I deliberately slowed down. Just when his hand was about to slap me, I slowly took out the last and most important long dress from behind me. He looked around carelessly. "I want this, Daniel. You little imbecile." I couldn't help but smile at the corners of my mouth, planning to succeed. I've wanted to see my little lover in a long dress for a long time. Unfortunately, at that time, I was still in the position of the male mistress. My status was not legitimate. I even brainwashed my lover, saying how cruel, ruthless, and cunning the underworld boss was. What was Leo's expression at that time? He grabbed my arm, and his grip gradually tightened. His lips were tightly pressed into a thin line. Then he stiffly opened his mouth and said, "Daniel is the best. I won't like that so-called mafia boss. I only love Daniel, a liar who never tells the truth. The person being deceived gives his whole heart to him, even if his identity is exposed. I'm still willing." As night fell and the lights came on, dressed as my female companion, Leo obediently let me put my arm around him and entered the banquet hall with me, wearing a silver-fringed dress. Leo looked like a mermaid that had strayed onto the shore from a distance. He was wearing an inhibitor collar symbolizing an omega around his neck. His slender neck was like that of a white swan, noble and elegant. As soon as we entered the banquet hall, everyone's attention was drawn to us. Wherever Leo goes or whatever he does, he is the focus of the whole audience. The lights gradually dimmed, and a spotlight was cast on the center of the hall. Slowly walked out a man, the host of the feast, Michael, wearing a tailored tailcoat and a mask that covered half his face, as dark as a raven's feather. The bullet comments popped up again. The second dominant character has also appeared. The cannon fodder protagonist quickly take your box lunch and exit the stage. The second dominant character? Could it be Michael? Why do these bullet comments always want me to be out and let others take my wife away? They all deserve to be torn apart. Michael reaches out to shake hands with me. "I heard you're Leo's most capable assistant?" I shook hands with Michael, and we both secretly exerted force, determined to outdo each other. I forced a smile, saying, "Michael, thank you for your care." Leo hid behind me, standing sideways, relying on me very much. Michael actually showed some curiosity and asked, "Who is this?" "His girlfriend." Leo answered first. His disguised voice was clear and pleasant, like a lark in spring. It's too different from the usual arrogant and willful appearance. No matter which side of him, he is so lovable. But there are always people who don't agree. Michael raised his eyebrows disdainfully, looking across, dressed Leo with a faint contempt. The previous inquisitive attitude had completely disappeared. "It seems your taste isn't that good. This little one is far inferior to Leo. How can a little pet kept at home be compared to Leo? It's simply an insult to him." I lowered my head, seemingly nodding like a gentleman, but actually secretly tightening my grip on Leo's hand. I was so angry that the corner of my mouth twitched. Leo really kept it from me. Everyone knew that the underworld boss Leo liked me, but I, the person involved, was kept in the dark. If it weren't for the suddenly appearing bullet comments, I wouldn't know how long I would be kept in the dark. Leo also knew he had made a mistake. He gave Michael a fierce glare and pulled me back. He coaxed me softly with red-rimmed eyes. It seemed that if I didn't accept his apology, he would cry. Daniel, are you angry? I didn't mean to hide it from you. The first time we met, I wanted to explain, but you didn't give me the chance. I helplessly picked up a strand of Leo's hair, placing it in the palm of my hand to play with. Actually, I wasn't that angry anymore. However, the opportunities to enjoy Leo's gentle apologies are rare. I must firmly seize this chance and enjoy it while I can. Who asked this little liar to always lie to me? I held Leo's face and forced him to look me in the eye. Then will you still lie to me in the future? Leo was a bit evasive. I got closer and closer to him, so close that we could feel each other's breath, so close that I could count his long and thick eyelashes. The lover I still miss day and night even in my dreams. If you lie to me again, I don't mind abusing my power to privately hide my delicate rose from now on. No. He was probably frightened by my terrifying eyes and repeated it over and over again. He grabbed the hem of my suit, forced to. He put away his usual fierce fangs and turned into a kitten, using his soft paws to soothe me. The party was in the middle and getting a bit boring. He glared at Leo, who was already too tired to hold back, covering his mouth with trembling hands. At this time, a waiter passed by with white wine. I casually picked up a glass and planned to drink it all in one gulp, using the excuse of being drunk to leave early. I half smiled, looked at the steadily held glass of wine, licked my fangs, and drank it all in one go. Let's go, it's time for us to return and rest. Leo returns to retrieve his fallen pin, asking me to go back first. I generously let him go, saying that I would wait for him at the elevator. All the bullet comments were watching me make a fool of myself. The drunkenness was stronger and more intense than I thought. My steps were unsteady as I walked. The elevator descended as slowly as if every second was a year. On this short stretch of road, a careless waiter bumped into me head on. Sorry, sir. I had an accident just now. I looked at his face, which was as red and hot as mine. Another one got caught. Since they want me to make a fool of myself so much, I'll do as they wish. I reached out my hand to the waiter and asked worriedly, Hello, do you need help? The waiter shyly shook his head and took 2 steps back, looking very reluctant to be helped. But on the contrary, the smell of his omega pheromone became stronger. The sweet smell of peaches formed a barrier like a storm, enveloping me tightly. My breathing became more and more rapid. I could feel that the compatibility of our pheromones was very high. Sir, don't do this. Sir, your pheromone smell is too strong. Can you restrain it a bit? He was chattering nonstop and giving me a headache. I took off my tie, bound his hands, and pressed him into the elevator. Only the 2 of us were left in the small and enclosed space. The 2 pheromones were evenly matched. I've been sweating profusely on my face. I can't tell whether the sweat is from the heat or the cold, and I don't have the time to distinguish. 170th floor. I staggered out of the elevator door, clutching the tie tightly, dragging the waiter who was about to fall. My vision was blurred and in black and white. I followed the direction and walked to room 713. I pulled out the room card from my suit pocket, which was sent by the cruise ship owner before. I opened the door. The waiter was pulling at his thin white shirt and shouting that it was hot. At this moment, he looked at me and said, If it's just for this one night, then I'll just pretend to have been bitten. I forced myself to stay calm, pressed against the wall with my back straight, took out the ordinary alpha inhibitor from the bedside table, and with a trembling hand, stabbed it into my swollen gland. A cool sensation spread from the back of my neck to my whole body, but it wouldn't last long. The identity of an S-class alpha is both an honor and a shackle. The waiter's almond-shaped eyes were moist with tears, and his damp and hot hair was sticking tightly to his head. He said to me pityingly, It's no use. Our compatibility is too high. I looked up at the camera in the corner. The place where I was happened to be a blind spot of the surveillance, so I knocked the waiter unconscious with a chop to the neck. Who do you think you are? Do you think I'd take a fancy to you? No one can compare to the person I love. I struggled to get up. My vision had turned gray. I didn't know how far I could go or how long I could last. I'm taking a gamble. I struggled to return to the elevator entrance. If I win the bet, I'll get a reward. If I lose, I'll voluntarily drop out. This sense of excitement made my originally suppressed pheromones spill out even more recklessly. 170th floor. The elevator dings again. Leo emerges like a precious treasure, unveiled from his dusty casing, peering before me. Daniel, what happened to you? His voice trembles uncontrollably. I see my pale, gaunt face reflected in his eyes and finally allow myself to faint in relief. I returned to Leo's warm embrace, faintly hearing his cries, his tears falling on my face. Yet I lacked the strength to lift my hand. Don't cry. Actually, I'm not in pain. It's just that I've taken a few more inhibitors. Leo stayed by my side all the time, and in the second half of the night, the heat wave rolled in. I held his hand and deliberately made myself look miserable. Honey, I'm in pain. Help me. And the waiter I left far away happened to run into another drunk person, the third dominant character. The next day, as soon as I woke up, the following appeared in front of my eyes. The third dominant character is out. This cannon fodder attacker is really lucky. The cooperation with Michael ended unhappily because of the farce. As for Michael himself, it was not easy for him to pursue the matter. I hid on the balcony and answered the call from the bureau. You did a great job on this mission. We've also investigated some things. Find an excuse to come back when you have time. It's not that I don't want to go back. It's just that the big shot is so clingy. I'm always overly soft-hearted towards him. I made an excuse that a family member was sick and I needed to go back to take care of them. Leo let me go, half believing and half doubting. Before I left, he whispered in my ear, saying he missed me, looking exactly like a little wife staying at home. It would be more convincing if he wasn't stepping on the head of a traitor under his feet. Back at the federal police station, the captain asked me to meet another undercover colleague. I am Jack, Michael's stand-in lover. I shook hands with him, marveling at how anyone could survive under Michael's devilish presence. The final mission was to set up a trap and capture both Michael and Leo alive, arresting them and sending them to prison. My heart sank, but I still complied. I suddenly felt a tightness in my chest and felt a bit sorry for Leo. The vacation was quite long. I went home and put on a show. I'm also a young master from a wealthy family. I have parents who go abroad to have fun and don't care about anything, and an industrious elder brother who manages the company alone. I should have been an arrogant second-generation heir, into racing and drinking. It was a rainy day. I was racing on an empty road when I saw a person wrapped in blood staggering towards me. I immediately hit the brakes. My heart skipped a beat, and I dragged him to the emergency room. He pitifully pleaded with me to save him. I swiped $1 million at the hospital to help him get treatment. But when I went to visit him the next day, he had disappeared. I heard that he was taken away by a group of people who looked like evil forces. A sudden sense of justice made me determined to rescue that person. Rumors outside say that the wayward young master of the Sioux family was forced by his parents to join the federal police department. But in fact, he joined voluntarily. I'm flipping through the news on the terminal. There are various praises for the young and aggressive, yet ruthless, person in power of the Liu family. Recently, Leo bought a mogok pigeon, blood-red diamond ring at a high price, seemingly indicating progress in his relationship. I felt a bit jealous. The media's ability to gossip is really amazing. I don't believe a single word of it. I got dressed up and prepared to go out. Then I bumped into the secretary of my eldest brother. Benjamin, Samuel, just like his name, is a smart and capable beta. I'm here to deliver materials to the boss. My elder brother is still in his susceptible period. I reached out my hand to help him deliver them. Benjamin's tone was dull. Let him in. Daniel, when you leave, close the door on your way out. I sized up the two of them and couldn't help teasing. Samuel remained calm and composed, saying firstly, I'm a beta, so I can't help you, boss. Secondly, working overtime during holidays means triple pay. Benjamin let out a cold snort, dragged him into the house, and quickly closed the door. As his younger brother, I silently gave them the middle finger outside in the cold wind. These two brothers, one can't open his mouth and is suffering from chasing his wife. The other is a supporting character who ends up after 3 episodes. I clenched my fists. Can't I change the fate of being a supporting character? I went shopping in the mall to buy a gift for Leo and, by the way, discussed the next task plan with my colleague Jack. I took a couple of sips of coffee and absent-mindedly glanced out. Then I saw Leo outside, investigating the situation of the mall. Only then did I remember that this mall was the property of the Liu family. Jack looked over curiously. Somehow, he seemed a bit nervous. I jumped out and used the flyer to cover my face. Daniel, what about your sick parents? Are you working part-time distributing flyers in the mall? Did you spend all the money I gave you? Leo's suspicious gaze gradually softened into sympathy, pulling out a bank card and shoving it into my hand. Give my regards to the elders in your family. What's most important for you now is to spend time with them. When talking about his parents, Leo's expression turned somber, forcing himself to comfort me. I swallowed hard and couldn't say a word. How can an alpha spend his wife's money? But this was given to me by my wife with her own hands. I can't bear to return it. I'll keep it as a token of our love. I quietly moved the flyer down to just cover my mouth. I still looked handsome and suave, and Leo also noticed Jack. Jack? Did Michael finally allow you to go out? I saw Jack's body trembling and swaying. Leo, you're joking. I'm nothing special. Before I could react, Leo immediately took out his phone, called Michael, and handed the phone to Jack. Michael's angry voice came through the phone. Jack, who gave you permission to get close to him? You need to know your place. Jack said sorry in a trembling voice. I cursed in my heart. What a scumbag. A proper scumbag. I'll immediately throw him into the crematorium. Leo frowned slightly. Why are you being so fierce towards him? I'm not going to eat people. Hang up the phone. Jack shook his head at me and left under an excuse. Later, he sent me a message, saying, Michael is just my first-class merit. I hope so. Leo has been acting strangely recently. He won't let me touch him. Occasionally, he only allows me to release a bit of pheromones and then pushes me away. The final operation is set at Leo's birthday party. At that time, both Leo and Michael will attend. It's just the right time to catch them all. I retorted to my superior, saying that it was too cruel. The superior just coldly told me, Daniel, obey the order. The scene has been arranged. The colleagues had made full preparations outside the banquet hall. I clenched my fists and then relaxed them. Pretending to be relaxed, I carried the gift box and walked towards the banquet hall. Leo was standing on the second floor, looking out into the distance with a cold expression. Beside him, Michael was chatting idly. As soon as I approached, Leo immediately beamed with joy. I have a gift for you. I have a surprise for you, Sujia and Leo said in unison. I glanced over, and Jack met my eyes. He was dragging Michael towards the bomb ambush point. Let's see mine first. I spoke up first. Leo's eyebrows lifted, and he couldn't stop smiling as he lifted the lid of the box. There was a shiny silver gun inside. Up close, a blooming rose is carved on the gun handle, just as gorgeous and flamboyant as Leo himself. Daniel, I really like the gift. Now let's see mine. He can't wait to take out his gift. A thin layer of sweat gradually appeared on my forehead, and I heard the 2-minute countdown in my ear. My teammates anxiously urged me to start the arrest operation quickly. I quietly reached for the gun on my side. Daniel, let's get married. Leo took out a red velvet box, opened it, revealing a 10-carat pigeon, blood red diamond. He held the diamond ring. I took out my pistol, aiming at Leo's head. My mind went completely blank. Leo looked at me blankly, his eyes empty, and he shed silent tears. The diamond ring slipped and, after several bounces, fell to a place unknown to anyone. Daniel, was your purpose for approaching me just to arrest me? With red-rimmed eyes, Leo gritted his teeth and said to me. I drooped my eyelashes and pinched my palm. Yes, his tone became pleading. Daniel, have you ever loved me? Jack had finished dealing with things over there and was rushing to the second floor. I had to solve this quickly. I hardened my heart, not wanting to give him hope, and said in an extremely cold voice, never. If Leo could remember this heartbreak more deeply, would he be able to escape the fate of being discarded? Leo's beautiful face became a bit ferocious at this moment. I hate you. I hate you. He smiled sweetly, grasped the muzzle of the gun, moved it down to his abdomen, and pressed it against his stomach. Daniel, shoot here. 1 shot, 2 lives gone. We'll be even. Suddenly, an examination form dropped at my feet. It was AB ultrasound image. A 2-month-old baby. Ours with Leo. Leo, I'm sorry. Sorry, I lied to you. I didn't protect you well. I broke my promise. You should have shot me with the gun I gave you. I kept squeezing the paper in my hand. Why were the words blurring? When I wiped my face, I felt tears all over it. They all say that the cannon fodder love interest is not a good person. Yet you still like him so much. Is he really worth it? You even bought the pigeon's blood diamond ring for him and offered yourself and the baby as a gift to him. But this is your birthday. My mind is in a complete mess. I'm looking for the diamond ring, the one Leo gave me. I knelt on the ground and felt around. The gravel wore through the palm of my hand. His colleague tugged at him and said, Daniel, hurry up and leave. This place is about to explode. I have to find the ring. He pleaded desperately, but watched as he got farther and farther away from the ring. The task was considered a complete success in the eyes of the public. I and Jack both received promotions and salary increases. I don't care about these at all. Back then, when I asked you, did you manage to find anything? I confront the chief. This is also the condition I agreed to become an undercover agent initially. The chief, cunning and experienced, sips his tea and leisurely responds, searching for a needle in a haystack. How long ago was this? It's impossible to find anything. I got angry, pinched his neck, and pressed him against the wall. You dare lie to me? I'm the director. The Su family is not to be trifled with either. He was really scared. Shivering, he said he would look for it again and asked me to pry the location of their latest batch of goods from Leo's mouth. I'll only trust you one last time. Otherwise, I don't mind replacing him as the police chief. In the prison, Leo was wearing an orange prison uniform and looked pale. Daniel, why didn't you shoot me dead? Are you still attached to our old relationship? Leo let out a sneer. I paced back and forth outside. According to the regulations of the Omega Association, pregnant Omegas cannot be executed. We could only conduct interrogations. But Leo has always been uncooperative. We couldn't get anything from Leo, however. We happened to capture his foster father. Leo's foster father looked very ferocious and cunning. When facing me, his eyelids slightly flickered, saying, Leo would like you. He truly has no good taste. Raising an ungrateful wolf cub. To find more avenues of approach, I had someone conduct a thorough investigation into Leo's foster father's affairs. The more I looked, the more shocking it was. From the age of 5, Leo was abused and forced to display a brutal side. He didn't have enough to eat or warm clothes to wear. He was like a stone being trampled under people's feet. He fought his way out from the strict assessment of his adoptive father, become the real power holder of the Lu family. I cover my chest. My heart is beating wildly. I really want to hug Leo again. I'm sorry, he never mentioned it to me. I thought he was the same as me. If you don't want to die, quickly tell me everything you know. I punched his adoptive father. The other person was stunned for a moment. Leo is very excellent. It's a pity that he is an Omega. When he came of age, I specifically found an alpha conversion agent, hoping that he could become even more outstanding. He sighed. It's a pity that he let me down and became a disabled Omega. Even getting pregnant is very difficult for him. I was extremely angry. I grabbed his collar and punched him in the face. Blow after blow. It was not until Jack desperately grabbed me and tied my hands that he stopped me from going crazy. I can't punch anymore. I have to calm down. My Leo has suffered so much grievance, but he has never told me. Every time I talked about family matters, he avoided the topic. There's always a force in the federal police interfering with my investigation. Reinvestigate the incident where Leo was framed from years ago, leading to an unexpected discovery. On Leo's 18th birthday at an abandoned factory, he was restrained and administered the alpha conversion agent. 5 strong men couldn't hold him down and he escaped. The abandoned factory is in the suburban area of the city. The incident happened on July 15th. After I laughed until tears came out, I slapped myself in the face. So, the person I met and saved that day was Leo. I'm such an idiot. I was led around by the federal police and personally imprisoned my lover. Daniel, you're just a jerk. Otherwise, do you think a cautious person like Leo would fall in love with someone casually? It's only you who fall in love at first sight. For non-pregnant Omegas, according to Leo's crime, they will be immediately executed. The hospital, the obstetrics and gynecology department. Leo covered his stomach, his face turning even paler. I knelt at Leo's feet. Please, can you not abort the baby? To buy more time for the baby and for himself. Leo sneered at me disdainfully. Daniel, what kind of deep affection are you pretending to have? I'm sorry, I don't ask for your forgiveness. I just want you to live. Leo's expression briefly softened before returning to its usual coldness. Child, I will definitely abort it. With his consultation card, he entered the examination room. 3 minutes later, he came out. Daniel, you're really lucky. I quickly asked the accompanying nurse about Leo's condition. Due to Leo's incomplete Omega status, he needs the most authoritative doctor. Coincidentally, the only doctor who can perform the surgery is on vacation and traveling outside, so the surgery has to be rescheduled. I secretly sent a message to my elder brother, asking him to send someone to extend this doctor's vacation indefinitely and pay his salary as usual. When we returned to the police station, it was almost evening. Passed by the security office and saw the most senior, the elderly man, packing up. Realizing it was his retirement day today, everyone in the police station sent him off. Like old friends, I slung my arm over his shoulder and said, I'll treat you to a celebratory meal. We booked a private room and took turns drinking, using alcohol to drown our sorrows. The elderly man, who was usually taciturn, opened up to me, saying, I immediately recognized that the detained Leo is the son of the former chief. I felt a sense of familiarity, as he resembles the previous chief so much. No wonder they are father and son. Startled, I spilled my drink. I dared not interrupt the elderly man's words. The more I listened, the more frightened I became. The elderly man continued speaking. The former director and his wife both lost their lives, and the only child left behind was taken away by the dark forces. At this point, He was overwhelmed with emotion, tears streaming down his face. Daniel, you're a good boy. And so is Leo. I beg you to help him. The elderly man slumped drunk on the table. Hearing these words, I was already in tears. I quickly utilized the influence of the Sue family to organize the evidence and the details of the past events, and promptly reported Leo's special circumstances to the FBI. Due to the complexity of Leo's situation, the waiting time was somewhat prolonged. The result of the trial was good. I rushed into the bureau excitedly, ready to tell Leo. The director had been arrested and was under investigation. It should have been a lively scene in the bureau now, but why were my colleagues looking at each other in dismay? A bold colleague stepped forward and explained to me that Michael had escaped from prison. Michael's influence is abroad. The punishment of criminal law for him is not severe, and he is still on bail pending trial. Not only did he escape from prison, but he also arrogantly left a note. Jack will have plenty of time in the future. It's obvious that he wants to settle the score with Jack. However, he's on vacation to recuperate his body recently. I sent someone to immediately inform Jack not to go out casually recently and to avoid being careless. Who knows what those crazy people who walk on the edge of a cliff are thinking? I quietly walked into the detention room. Leo's head hung down, like a wilted and drooping rose. My rose has withered, and I'm the culprit. Leo, I can save you. Let's take care of our health first. Shall we? Leo is in there. He didn't speak. I opened the door of the confinement room. It was sticky under my feet. I looked down and saw a pool of blood. While Leo was holding his stomach, he was about to faint. I picked him up horizontally and ran to the hospital at full speed. He leaned in close to my ear and whispered, I once imagined that during our proposal, you would pick me up and run, and I would shed tears of happiness. Every word he said was like a sharp blade piercing my heart and lungs. I'm sorry, I messed it all up. I should have been killed as cannon fodder. I persuaded him not to die and begged him to look at me one more time. The small world is about to collapse. Everything has been ruined by Daniel. Is my wife really doomed to die? I'm so angry. The author announced that this novel would end badly 5 minutes ago. The ending is stuck at the scene where my wife was in a car accident and sent to the hospital. The bullet comments are chattering. Everyone is speaking one after another. I suddenly realized that although the specific plot didn't match, Leo was still doomed to die. The treatment in progress light in the operating room stayed on. I became more and more anxious. The door of the operating room opened, and only a doctor came out. He told me that Leo lacked the father's pheromones during the pregnancy, combined with his defective omega gland, resulting in severe rejection reactions in the fetus. I grabbed the doctor's sleeve and pleaded with him. We can give up the child, but please save Leo's life. The doctor told me that at this stage of the second trimester, removing the child would also cost the adult's life. Both the mother and the child would die. This phrase was simply a curse. The price for my deception. I'm willing to do anything. Please save him. I have a lot of money. I opened my mouth, only to realize that, besides money, I couldn't offer anything else. The doctor asked me to extract the purest alpha pheromone liquid, 1 tube per day for 7 consecutive days. I immediately agreed. Extracting pheromones is like extracting bone marrow. The needles are thick, and anesthesia can't be used. It's okay for many people to have it done once or twice, but for high-frequency extractions like once a week, they probably won't be able to endure it. At that time, I thought that if Leo left, I would never live alone. When Leo was hospitalized for observation, he was much better. I only dared to take a look at Leo through the small glass window. He gently stroked his belly. That was our precious baby. I felt the red velvet box in my pocket. Inside was still that 10-carat Mogok pigeon blood red diamond ring, as red as a heartbeat. Leo was willing to give me his whole passionate heart at that time. And what about me? I lowered my head and let out 2 bitter laughs. I put down the prepared lunch and fruits and asked the nurse to take them in. I'd better not go in and disturb him. Daniel, what are you doing outside? Leo suddenly called me. I froze in place and was about to run away. Then he added, Are you going to run away again? I moved my feet and stood at the door of the ward. I'm afraid I'll disturb your recuperation. Leo didn't care at all. Do you know how to take care of people? Take care of me during pregnancy and confinement. This is your child. I opened my mouth wide. What a good thing. He dragged out the ending sound. However, you and I have nothing to do with each other anymore. I took care of Leo willingly and without complaint. He was very light now. I could pick him up with one hand. He also slept restlessly. He would always frown and have nightmares in the middle of the night. I gently patted his back, just like soothing an insecure baby. At least, now looking at Leo with a rosy complexion and the little baby crying loudly beside him, I know that I've taken good care of them. Leo kicked me and asked me to soothe the baby. I do all the housework. Leo just needs to rest and be happy. Oh, right? Now all my bank cards are in Leo's hands, under the pretext of the baby's milk powder money. On the day the baby turned 1 month old, I held the baby and accompanied Leo to visit his biological parents at the cemetery. Mom and Dad, our enemies have been slain. The game I've set up over the years has come to fruition. I've avenged you. The wind was a bit strong. I rubbed Leo's head, hugged his waist, and held him in my arms to block the sand and wind. At night, Leo pinned me down, took out the weapon he had prepared, and aimed it at my head, just like I did back then. Daniel, you're no longer of any use to me now. I can get rid of you at any time. I smiled slightly, raised my hands in surrender. Dinner is in the fridge. Remember to heat it in the microwave. The fruits are cut and placed on the dining table. Remember to eat them. There's only 1 can of baby formula left. I've reordered it, and it will be delivered by courier tomorrow. Remember to sign for it. The names on the bank card and the property ownership certificate have been changed to yours. The password is your birthday. I've written a suicide note to my family. You won't face any legal sanctions. Leo lowered the gun a bit. Anything else to say? I stared into his eyes. I'm sorry. I love you. I closed my eyes. 3 seconds later, I opened my eyes curiously. There were no bullets in the gun. Instead, a bunch of roses popped out. Leo couldn't hold back the smile on his lips and said, I forgive you. Where's my ring? I took out the box that had been in my trouser pocket. I exchanged rings with Leo. The ruby ring with a carved flame, rose that I had carved myself, looked especially beautiful on Leo's hand. For a moment, I'd been waiting for this moment for a very long time.